Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, welcome. I'm Bonnie, Old Soul Mermaid. Today's video, I thought we'd have a little fun. Today, I'm going to be showing you all of my decks in my favorite cardstock. So if you'd like to see what my favorite cardstock is and all those decks that I have in that cardstock, stick around. So I will now divulge what my favorite cardstock is, and that would be linen cardstock. Now, if you've been on my channel long enough, you may have seen my VR response to Casper the Boy Diviner's video, #cardstocksnob. And in that video, I show, my favorite cardstocks, and also I think I go over the ones I do not like. But I have since determined that my absolute favorite cardstock is linen. It absolutely is linen cardstock because it feels good. Now, there are varying degrees of texture with linen cardstock, but I find that it is the easiest for my hands to deal with, my small, weak hands. Even if it's a larger deck, I find that I can still shuffle with it. Now, this is the original tarot. It's a linen version of, the original Rider Tarot deck. But I find that I'm much more prone to use an RWS deck in this cardstock. And I enjoy using this deck in this cardstock. For coloration, my favorite is probably the borderless Centennial version, but I find that I am much more prone to use this Rider-Waite deck, and these are the backs, because it is so easy to shuffle. And my phone is probably not picking it up, but I love the texture, that touching the texture, and I even like looking at the texture of a linen cardstock. It just does it for me. And for my small, weak hands, it's very, very, it's like a godsend, if you to use that phrase. It's easier for me to manage. So that is the cardstock, my favorite cardstock. Now from here on out, let's look at some other decks that I have with linen cardstock. Here we have 3 productions by Clarkson Potter Publishing. We have the Jane Austen Tarot deck, and this is by Jackie Oakley. It's a 53 cards for divination and gameplay. We have the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani, and we also have the Literary Witch's Oracle. Now this is written by Tasia Kitalinskaya. I'm sorry. It's illustrated by Kathy Horan, and I'm sorry, I'm not good with with names, but these are all Clarkson Potter productions, and even the boxes have linen texture. And the thing I love about these decks also is they're mass market and so economical. I pre-ordered all these decks, and they were, running from $12 to $13 in the pre-order. They're still very inexpensive. They're all well under $20, running around, $14, $15 range, depending on where you are. So let's take a look at these decks. Okay, so here we have the Jane Austen Tarot, which I really use as an oracle. This is not to be confused with the Jane Austen Tarot that was put out by Lo Scarabeo several years ago by Diane Wilkes, which is now out of print. This is something completely different, and I use it more as an oracle deck. This is the Tarot of the Divine, and this is the Literary Witch's Oracle, which came about as a companion to the book, which was put out by the same creators. So we'll flip these over. And all three of these decks have this wonderful linen cardstock. And I think the linen cardstock makes the artwork come alive. Now, I have seen on probably Amazon, some people don't like it. They think it interferes with the imagery and artwork, especially I saw comments for the Tarot of the Divine. But I think it brings out the richness of it. And in some cases, in some decks you'll see, I think it makes it seem more like a canvas, like a painter's canvas, you know, a painting on a canvas, which is something I really, really like. The Jane Austen Tarot is pippish, and some people, you know, they've had their problems with it because of the you know, it's not a traditional tarot deck, and some people were disappointed by that. I tend to use it as an oracle deck and not as a tarot. Now, in this deck, the Literary Witch's Oracle is unique in that it covers some very famous and notable female writers, but half of the deck is what they call witches' materials. So you can see, so we've got the notable writers here, and then you have the, oops, sorry about that, the witches' materials and these cards. And I have seen people who have this deck have cut out the borders. I'm not into deck modding as far as cutting. I do not trust myself. And yeah, that's not going to happen. But I think all three of these decks are beautiful, beautiful decks, and something I love to handle and something I love to look at, because I do think that the linen texture brings out the artwork. Next on the list, I have the Fifth Spirit Tarot and the Slow Tarot. So the Fifth Spirit is by Charlie Claire Burgess, and the Slow Tarot is by Lacey Bryant. Now, I picked these two decks because I'm grouping them together because they are my more modern day artwork, modern day depiction of artwork. And I'm going to try to do groups because I have a lot of decks here. So I'm trying to make it a little bit more manageable for you all. So these decks, again, wonderful, wonderful linen cardstock. Very easy to handle in my hand. Now, the linen in these cards is thinner and more pliable. It feels more like playing cards than, say, the first deck I showed you, the original tarot, the Rider-Waite deck. Now these are thinner, and these feel absolutely the same. They're more pliable, and those are the backs. But again, I think the linen just brings the artwork and the colors alive. For me, it's such a tactile experience with the linen cardstock. Again, I love to have these in my hand when I'm just sitting at the TV and watching crime TV with my husband. I love to have one of these decks in my hand because they fit. You know, a deck like one of these just fit my hand. It's so easy to handle, so easy to shuffle, so easy to maneuver and manipulate in my hand. It's some cards I struggle with, even though I love the decks and even though I love some other cardstock, because of the sturdiness. This wins hands down for sometimes when I am watching TV, for decks that I just want to handle in my hands. And I just love the kind of again, the picture or artwork on the canvas. Especially you can see that with the Slow Tarot, with these rich, vibrant colors. And these are my two linen decks that depict modern day life that have a more modern aesthetic. Here we have a set. We have both the Volita Woods Tarot and the Volita Woods, or actually just the Volita Oracle by Betty Skeet. Now, look at how vibrant these cards are. Now, with the Oracle, you have more of the black in the background and then the pops of color, whereas you have like full-on color in the tarot deck. I'm not sure if these two decks are available, but of course I will leave links if they are in the description box below. I know that there have been several printings of the tarot deck, and when it was put on my radar that it was available, I instantly backed it. And also this Oracle deck. I love these for spring and summer readings. There's just something about this artwork and the full-on blast of color and whimsical art that really attract me. And then look at these backs. Now, one thing I don't think that my phone will pick up is really how the texture. It's about the same thickness as the previous two decks, the Fifth Spirit and the Slow Tarot. You know, it's more pliable. So it's really, really easy to handle these cards in your hand. And as you can see, the artwork is just gorgeous. Very, very beautiful. And that is the Volita Woods Tarot and the Volita Oracle by Betty Skeet. Next we have my beloved Hilda Tarot. This is the original burlap edition, though I do have the other, oops, sorry about that, gingham edition. And this is by Esther Thea, Celestial Esther on Instagram. And this is a favorite deck of mine. This is a hug deck, and you can see the backs. The cards in both editions have not changed. It's just the backs and the boxes. But this is a happy deck for me. This linen feels a tiny bit thinner than the previous decks that I've shown, the more pliable ones like the Fifth Spirit and the Slow Tarot. It feels a tad bit thinner, but still really, it's really good cardstock, very easy to handle in my hands. And again, I just like in a card like that, and you're probably not going to pick it up in my phone, but the color and texture, the combination of color and texture, I love. And then you can really see it with the white, you know, the cards that have the white background. But you guys, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I love it. I love how these cards feel in my hand. I love how it brings out the color in the imagery on the cards. And this is the Hilda Tarot by Esther Thea. All right, I have another grouping of linen decks, and I group these together because they are all by Madame Clara. This is Madame Clara's 5-cent tarot. Now, this is a second edition. I also have the first. This is the Centurion Tarot, and this is the Madame Clara Sees All, her original tarot deck, or actually it's he who created these decks. These are the glorious backs of all three decks. Now, 2 of these decks have gilding. They're linen textured cardstock, but with gilding. So these 2 have the gilding. The Centurion does not. So you get kind of a matte gold finish with the 5-cent tarot. And this one does not have any gilding for the Centurion. And you get a standard, you know, gold gilding on the Madame Clara Sees All, or original Madame Clara. Now, the 5-cent tarot has Victorian imagery and ephemera. The Centurion, it's like Centurion art. It kind of reminds me of a deck that I don't have, that I've been going back and forth whether or not to get, and that's the Ellis Tarot. It reminds me of the Ellis Tarot Light, and you'll see as I flip through it. Now, again, this one, the Madame Clara, and this is a statue of Queen Victoria here, which I love. It has traditional imagery, a lot of statues, a lot of old artwork, which I really love. Now, with these two, the 5 cent and the Madame Clara, there are keywords for the upright and reversed positions, which I find very helpful. And if you're a beginner, it would be very helpful. The Madame Clara follows the RWS system and imagery pretty closely, even though it, you know, it's different artwork. This one takes a little bit of getting used to, but the keywords help. And then the Mid-Centurion, again, it does follow the RWS system, as you can see. They each have their own quirky little style, which you can see, you know, which is pretty common with the Madame Clara decks. Wonderful quality, wonderful linen cardstock. These two come in tuck boxes but came with bags. I don't know if they're still available. I want to say no, but of course I will leave the a link if I can find one. The 5 cent tarot, I believe, is still available in the 2nd edition. Not much has changed, just you got different a different choice in coloration for maybe the backs and the bags. I don't recall much changing in the imagery. But as you can see with these two decks, it follows the RWS system very, very closely. And this one, I would say it's more for an intermediate or advanced reader, but definitely if this appeals to you as a beginner, you can totally go for it. I love all 3 decks. They feel good in the hand, they're easy to shuffle, and if you like keywords, they are helpful. They're good keywords for the 2 decks that have them. And I think they're wonderful, wonderful decks. And these are the 5 cent tarot, the Mid-Centurion Tarot, and the Madame Clara Tarot by Madame Clara. Here we have 2 fine examples of very whimsical decks. This one's a mass market deck, the Affirmators Tarot, very affordable, you know, $14 range. And this is the Playful Heart Tarot. It's an indie deck by Kitten Chops. Here are the glorious backs of both decks. And as you can see, the Affirmators Tarot, some people may not like this, but it has some text, you know, the title of the deck on the back. It doesn't bother me. It just kind of fits with the deck. And then Kitten Chops does have her name kind of hidden in one of the hearts. Again, it doesn't bother me. Love the watercolor in, you know, the watercolor art of this deck. And we're gonna flip these over. Look at how beautiful, the beautiful color. Again, these are fantastic to hold. Now, I will say the Affirmators linen is the same, if not similar, to the Clarkson Potter decks. You know, the Literary Witches, the Jane Austen Tarot, Tarot of the Divine. That's what this feels like. This feels a little bit smoother. You don't get as much texture. I believe this was produced by a top playing card company printer, Expert Playing Cards or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's who printed, some big playing card company printed this deck. But both feel wonderful. I would say that the Kitten Chops deck, the Playful Heart Tarot, is a little bit more pliable. I should be flipping through these so you can see them while I talk. Just so you can see the art. I believe both decks are available. I will leave links. The Affirmators you can see find at your local bookstore, on Amazon. The Playful Heart tarot, I believe you can still get off of Kitten Shop's website. Both are wonderful hug decks. Both are wonderful decks for working if you're doing inner child work. They're wonderful decks, but you know, I found even with this fun childlike art, they don't pull any punches. They give you exactly what you need. And you know, I haven't been working with tarot for years and years and years, but I've come to the conclusion, you know, no matter what the artwork of the deck or the vibe or the feel of the deck, you're going to get what you need. So if you choose to do shadow work or ancestral work with one of these decks, if this is all that you have, you will get the exact messages you need. And that's my belief. Just because they are fun and colorful. And this reminds me so much, oh my gosh, this Ten of Swords. This is what my youngest used to draw. He used to draw a face and X'd out eyes of family members who were on his poop list. Yeah, if he was mad at my daughter, if he was mad at my husband or his older brother, he would put, you know, if it was my daughter, he'd put some longer hair on it. He'd make it look like the person with the X'd out eyes. And then he would hang it on his door and lock himself in, you know, in his room. So we would know that person was not to go in the room. He didn't want to have any dealings with them. I was never fortunate enough to be on his poop list. I never had a drawing of me done by him, so I don't know if I should be sad or happy about that. But anyway, these are wonderful, whimsical decks in linen cardstock. Next, we have My Beloved Lonely Dreamer Tarot by Melissa Witherspoon. This is the first edition. I also have the second edition, which also has linen cardstock. These are the gorgeous backs of the first edition. It's a prayer rug, and these are not gilded or anything, but the images. This is based on the artwork of Odilon Redon, and it's a beautiful, beautiful art deck. And I think that I prefer the images, the cards for the most part in this deck. There might be a couple of exceptions. I did a side-by-side of both editions. I prefer this deck on the whole to the second edition. What I do prefer with the second edition are the extra cards and the backings. I found that I preferred, but this on the whole is a very special deck to me. It gives me profound readings. It's a beautiful deck to me that I can just lose myself into. And the fact that it had linen cardstock was just an absolute plus for me. Again, it just, to me, it makes the artwork jump out, especially with art decks. Do you see the texture? I hope my phone is showing that, but it just makes it's like a canvas, absolutely a canvas for the paintings. You get the painterly effects, you get the texture, and that's why I really, really appreciate linen cardstock, especially for art decks. I mean, you really can't beat it. And this is the Lonely Dreamer Tarot, the first edition by Melissa Witherspoon. This next pair, I just paired them together because their imagery might be a little bit darker in nature, be considered a little bit darker in nature. I have the Darkness of Light Tarot. This is the most recent 4th edition, and this is the Infernal Tarot, which was an indie Kickstarter deck. I'm not sure if this one is still available. All right, so let's flip these over so you can see the beautiful backs. I don't know if it'll show up on my phone, but this is a deep chocolate, and then this is a lighter brown, and then there's like an off-white, just so you can get an idea for the colors. Now, this is the 4th edition of the Darkness of Light. I do have the 3rd edition, which is the one with the white backs and the white borders. Now, I just got this deck, and it's in order because I recently shot a side-by-side of this deck and my 3rd edition. But I had to jump on this one because it had the black borders and the background. And I really, really, you know, wanted the black. It was, I missed out on the 1st and 2nd editions. But then when I heard it was linen cardstock, I was like, oh my gosh, I need it. Because I think I'll put away my white one, even though I do quite enjoy it. And I like the way some of the colors pop against the white. Just handling this deck with the linen cardstock is just an enjoyable experience for me. As you can tell, also the Infernal Tarot is a beautiful, beautiful deck, and you know how I love old artwork. And I do have a full unboxing of that deck on my channel. But, oh, this one, the Infernal Tarot, because it's an indie deck, it was a Kickstarter campaign, has this wonderful bronze gilding to it right here. It's so beautiful. It kind of it matches very closely the fronts of the cards. I will try to search and see if this deck is still available. As far as I know, the 4th edition of the Darkness of Light is available. And I just can't tell you how much I love this linen cardstock. I'm so happy to have it. I probably will not sell my 3rd edition with the white because I do love this deck quite a bit. And I do, again, like the way how the white shows up and makes some of the colors pop with the white background. So these are 2 of, you can consider kind of darker decks. But like I said before, you can use a deck to do any kind of reading. You know, it'll give you the message that you need at any given time. Any deck will do that for you. Okay, we have a couple of cute little decks in a tin. We have the Divine Muses Oracle, the Pocket Edition by Marie Bento, and also her Antiquarian Lenormand Resurrected Edition. These little decks are a joy to work with. Here's the Oracle, here's the Lenormand. Both have the exact same linen texture. I will say the Oracle is a little bit, just a fraction of an inch thinner. Very, very minuscule, you know, difference. But here are the backs, and they are so beautiful. Now this one, this card is bent just ever so slightly. But as you know, I'm a big fangirl of Marie Bento's work. Now, I do have the Oracle in the regular size, the one that comes in a pouch. I do believe she's coming out with another edition of the Oracle. And it's a reminder to me to check her website because I do want to get another edition. And I love this, that it has an unknown card. Because I just love this Oracle so much. I think here, this is a picture of Winston Churchill. Let me know if you think I'm right. But again, because it's linen cardstock, it's just a joy to work with these decks. Of course, if they were in any other cardstock, they'd be easy to work with because they are small decks. But the linen for me just adds an extra bit of pleasure. And you could see Marie's collage work. It's unmatched for the most part. What she does is so wonderful. And this is one of Marie's. You see my reading map here. It's also available on her shop. So she does a lot of wonderful things. And while we're speaking about Marie Bento, I also have her Antiquarian Tarot. And this is the full-size Oracle of the Divine Muses Oracle. And they both come in these beautiful padded pouches. As you can see in full size, how well they work together. This is the same backing in the pocket sized, and this is the tarot backing. They are the exact same linen cardstock. And look at that. Her collage work. I love her decks. And if you've been on my channel long enough, you know that I fangirl over her decks. Now, I love collage decks. I love old artwork, old photographs. I just do. It's something I look for in decks. It's just something, it's like a gravitational pull that pulls me towards these decks. But one deck that I need to get in my collection that I haven't yet is the Stretch Tarot by Joseph E. Stretch. And you might say, if you know both decks, you'd say, well, you already have this one. Why do you need the Stretch Tarot? But I think they have a different vibe for me. And like I said, this is what I like. This is my jam. This is what I love. So I'm always, you know, on the lookout for these types of decks. And I know this is linen. I don't think the Stretch. In fact, I know the Stretch Tarot is not in linen cardstock, but it doesn't matter. I love these types of decks. So that is the Antiquarian Tarot. And again, the full-size Divine Muses by Marie Bento. Next is a quirky little indie deck, an oracle deck. It is the Postcards from the Liminal Space. And it's by Bakara Wintour, who is the creator of the Way Home Tarot. And I believe, sadly, that this deck is out of print. Okay, this is one of the cards that sold me on the deck. No one is coming for you. And these are the backs. This is simple artwork just against a white background. But it's those decks. It's one of those decks that just makes me go, It does have a little teeny guidebook, but really, this deck makes you think. Very simplistic art, just, you know, line drawings, but it's just, I love this deck. And you wouldn't think it's my typical thing, you know. A lot of the decks that I have, I gravitate towards, you know, collage art, bright colors, but there's something about this deck. I love this card too. It's not about you. I do have a full unboxing of this deck. I hope that it will come back. To my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, it is not available. I think it is out of print, but if you know different, please leave it in the comments below, because I think it is a fantastic deck, and it really just makes you think. And this card, the Wound and the Gift, you know, isn't it true? It's, it is, I lack the words to describe this deck for me. It's not an affirmational deck. It is one of those decks that calls you out, makes you think outside the box, and I love this deck. I love this deck. I will never, ever part with this deck. I have another beautiful art deck for you, and this is the John Waterhouse Oracle deck. It's by Tarot by 7, and it is an indie creation, and it comes just in a white windowed tuck box. But these are the backs, and when you order from them, you get to choose your back. And I picked Ophelia. This is Ophelia before she goes into the water. There's the famous painting by John Everett Millay, pre-Raphaelite artist, who has Ophelia floating in the water. Well, this is Waterhouse's depiction is right before she goes into the water. She's wearing the white wedding dress. So I picked that background. And a lot of these a lot of the cards in the deck, well, not these two, but you'll see that you can combine them and make, you know, the full painting in some cases. This deck, there's no captions, keywords, or anything. So when I have a minute or two, I look at these and I try to ascribe my own keywords. I'm trying to look up the names of the paintings and trying to ascribe my own keywords, and then I look at it again and I scratch it out. Here's Ophelia. Yeah, tragic figure. There's Pandora. And I have a full unboxing of this deck as well. There's a lot of cards in this deck. I think it's slightly over 80. And it's just wonderful to have in your hands. And again, because it's that linen texture, it just brings out the artwork, right? Like a real canvas painting, and it feels wonderful in the hands. And it's something that I can handle. And if you love the PRB artists and their paintings, their artwork, that Miranda and the Tempest, you will love this deck. Now, it is an indie deck, so it is a little bit dear in cost, but if you are a fan, it might be worth it to you. And I am a super fan of this artwork, and yeah, it's a challenge trying to ascribe my own meanings, because I go back and forth and I always second guess myself, and that's always going to be a thing. Is that narrow? Yeah, but this is the John Waterhouse Oracle by Tarot by 7. Okay, the next combination are my Usi decks, Pagan Otherworlds, the Supra Oracle, and the Brute Tarot. I believe this is the, I can't remember if I got the 4th or 5th edition of the Pagan Otherworlds, but yeah, these are gorgeous, gorgeous decks. All right, so you're all well familiar with the Pagan Otherworlds, so you know, you're familiar with these images, maybe less so with the Supra Oracle. Oh, let me show you the backs. And I do have a full unboxing of the Supra Oracle on my channel if you care to see all of it. And the Brute Oracle is a full tarot deck, but it is pippish, and it also, as you can see, oh, those are the cute backs. So you see the pips are playing card pips. And then you have, and I don't know, maybe I have this upside down. No faces. That might creep some of you out. But you can see it's a full, it has a full, you know, major arcana. And again, another deck with a nothing card. But then it's got regular playing card pips. Now, what I love about this deck is the size. As you can see, it's a very manageable size. It's smaller, you know, than my hand. And the backs are gorgeous. And it's just wonderful, beautiful, Usi quality. And, you know, you don't need to know anything more than that. You really don't. It's just gorgeous. And I was buying these two, and I said, why don't I just add this one to it? It wasn't, you know, as far as Usi cards, it wasn't very expensive. And I'm glad that I did. It's a nice deck to have if you're doing large spreads. Now again, the other two, you just I think are better known than this little Brute Tarot. There's the Magician. But they all have that beautiful Usi linen cardstock, and I had to put it in my video today. A recent acquisition of mine is the Green Wheel Oracle. I have a full unboxing of this deck on my channel, but it is by Danielle Barlow, also the artist behind the Green Witch Tarot by Hay House. These are the gorgeous, gorgeous backs. So beautiful. And these are the gorgeous, gorgeous fronts. And I had to send for it all the way from the UK. Yep, I had to pay that extra shipping, but it was well worth it. I think this deck is stunning. And I bought it to use it with the Green Witch Tarot. I just think they go perfectly together. Look at that artwork, so full of life. So full of life. And this linen, it's a larger card, but I can manage it because it is linen cardstock and easily malleable, you know, in my hands, so that I can shuffle it even though it is a larger deck. And it is a treasured acquisition. I don't know if it's still available. Of course, I will leave the information if it is. But look at that. I think I need to get in a little bit closer. Like I said, I do have a full unboxing of this deck on my channel. A much treasured deck in my collection is the Anima Mundi Tarot by Megan and Reardon. I can't get her name right, and I really apologize. This deck to me is so beautiful. It's been hard for me to find, you know, a true animal deck that I connect with, and this one pretty much ticks the boxes for me. It's got the beautiful gold edging, these beautiful backs, and the artwork is stunning. And it's because of this deck I haven't bit on the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, even though I know it looks like it has different vibes. I'm weakening, but I haven't bit yet because I have this deck. And I don't know, it's going to be one of those things, because I have one, will I, you know, not use the other? I kind of think no, because I have so many, you know, I have so many of those collage old art decks, you know, Carrie Paris's Relative Tarot, Marie Bento's decks, and it doesn't stop me, you know, using one or the other. It's a matter, I just grab one without thinking. So I keep looking at the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, wondering, and I think this is stunning. Oh, in this one, oh my gosh, the Ten of Pentacles. I wonder if one would negate the other, but I'm kind of coming to the realization that it probably wouldn't. But I have, you know, this is the deck I have that has kept me from purchasing the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, because I love this deck so much. I think the artwork is stunning and it speaks to me. It's just beautiful. The fact that it has, you know, water, ocean animals in it as well as land animals. It's just stunning. And I don't think the Oak, Ash, and Thorn has ocean depicted. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I like the vivid water energy in this deck. And that is the Anima Mundi Tarot. The last little deck in my linen cardstock collection is the Blick Oracle. All right, so the Blick Oracle is by Shannon Loftus. Now, this is, oh, you have to see these backs. I do have the tarot deck, but the tarot deck is different cardstock than the oracle deck here. Now, this is a very small oracle deck. As you can see, there's my hand, and that's the size of the oracle deck. I do believe that she has reprinted it in a regular tarot size, but I don't have that version. I don't know if it's still available. I would like to get it though, because I think these images are so beautiful. These images are curated from the Library of Congress, and I think they are stunning. Stunning. I don't know how much she worked on the colorization, you know, the little pops of colors in these sepia tones and black and white colored images, but I think it's a beautiful, beautiful. Another deck that just kind of makes you go, with the keywords and the imagery. And I love it. I love decks that challenge me. This deck, and the tarot deck, is really challenging. It doesn't have a lot of people. It's mostly scenic, but I love it. And they're wonderful decks. I think she's supposed to be coming out with a new tarot deck. I haven't checked recently, and I don't know. It could be available now, and I've not known it. But this is the Blick Oracle by Shannon Loftus. All right, so I thought I was done, but I actually found 2 other decks surrounding me in my piles of decks. So this is the Second Nature Tarot by J. Larson Designs, and it's a very new acquisition to my collection, and I have filmed an unboxing of it, which I haven't put up. And frankly, because I didn't know if anybody would be interested in seeing it. So if you're interested in seeing this deck, every single card, I will put up the unboxing. So this is beautiful linen cardstock. There are the backs. And I was turned on to this deck, I believe it was Boho Tarot's channel. And this deck is so beautiful. It was in her... you know, where she went in March, when she went through her deck collection and was figuring out what she was going to keep and what she was going to rehome. And I believe she kept this deck. I thought it was beautiful. There is another one by this J. Larson Designs. Actually, they've done quite a lot of decks with also Lenormand, but there's another tarot deck that I want to get, and it's the Distant Past Tarot. I think the collage work is so beautiful. Let me get in a little bit closer. Look at the vivid colors. And each, they're borderless, but at the bottom where the titles are, the name of the cards, depending on the suit, it's a different color, and it does have a happy squirrel. So you gotta love a deck that has a happy squirrel. But do you see how beautiful and vivid the colors are? And there's dolphins in here, you guys. So, you know, for me, you can't go wrong. It ticks all the boxes for me. Just look at this. So sweet and so beautiful. I think it's gorgeous. I really think this is an exquisite deck. I think that's Lord Byron there. I think it's just such a beautiful deck. A lot of my collage decks, you know, because they're of old art, they're, you know, sepia tone or black and white with a little bit of pops of color here and there, but this is full-on color. This is so beautiful. Look at that strength card. And she's looking very empressy there. But yeah, I think I will put the unboxing, even though there probably won't be many people interested in seeing it, but I love this deck so much. And just in case somebody's interested in, I will upload the full unboxing and flip through of this deck. And that is, or this is, the Second Nature Tarot by J. Larson Designs. And the last itty bitty deck in my collection with linen cardstock that is not a playing card deck is the Jane Austen Oracle by Diane Wilkes and Carrie Paris. And this is, I've had this for a month, about a month and a half, and those are the gorgeous backs. And I have a full unboxing of this. And I think in a previous video, I mentioned the class that I took that came with this deck and all the other paraphernalia that came with it. And if you have not seen those videos, this deck will be available again. It isn't currently at this moment, but I think it's going to be tweaked. Maybe some images will be changed, some maybe the coloration, the color scheme will change. But this is a fantastic oracle deck. It's an oracle. It's not called the Jane Austen Lenormand because they did they have all the Lenormand, the traditional 36 cards of the Lenormand, but then they have cards from the traditional Gypsy Witch deck. So it makes it a total of 54, 56 cards. So it's kind of a unique thing in and of itself, and I think it's fantastic. Sort of like, you know, if you have the Memento Mori Oracle by Claire Goodchild, that is like 80, that's an 80 card deck, and she, you know, 36 cards of that deck you can use as a Lenormand deck, and the rest is an oracle. So, you know, kind of the same thing, but, you know, they did different. In this deck, they combined traditional cards from the Gypsy Witch deck. And it's kind of hard to see. The writing is very small, but these are all quotes from Jane Austen books, and they're fantastic, how they correlate. And it's a wonderful deck, and it's wonderful to touch. It's wonderful to look at. I mean, and these backs are just glorious. They're just glorious. And I'm really, really happy to get it. And I'm going to be really excited when they come out with the new version of this deck, whenever that will be. So see, this is it's not in the traditional Lenormand system, but it's added here for just, you know, some extra divination power. Look, there's wine and broken. So this is the Jane Austen Oracle by Diane Wilkes and Carrie Paris, currently out of print, but it will be back again. So I hope you enjoyed that look into my collection of all my decks containing linen cardstock. I may have missed one or two, but I hope not. Let me know if you found any value to this video, or if you enjoyed it. Please hit a like, a subscribe, a notification bell. I come with videos quite often. And with that, I'll leave you to get on with your beautiful day. Bye for now.